What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Deluxe, and today we are going to be discussing the different methods for solving quadratic equations, brought to you by Group 9. We are also going to be discussing the pros and cons of each method. Let's get started.
The four methods for solving quadratic equations include graphing, factoring, the quadratic formula, and completing the square. In this video, we are going to only talk about the first three, and completing the square will come later in our mathematical career.
The first method we are going to be discussing today is by graphing. Graphing involves plotting the parabola and then using the visual aid to determine the zeros, or the x-intercepts, the vertex, or the minimum and maximum, and finally the y-intercept, where the x-coordinate equals 0. Graphing can be done using a calculator by entering in the equation, or manually by plotting and then connecting the points.
Some of the pluses that come with graphing is that you can see the x-intercepts, the vertex, and the y-intercept clearly within the graph. You can also get a visual representation of the data without looking at the numerical values or doing any math. The calculator gives you all of the answers also if you look into the table. Some of the bad things about graphing, though, is that when you do it manually, you can only find whole number solutions. Decimal numbers are very hard to graph manually, making it one of the least accurate methods.
The second method is factoring. Factoring is the process by which a quadratic function is converted into two simpler expressions that, when multiplied together, will equal the original function. In this example, x squared plus 4x plus 3, its n-factored result is the quantity of x plus 3 times the quantity of x plus 1. This is done by finding factors of x squared and then finding factors of 3 that add to equal 4. In other words, factors of c that sum to equal b.
The pros to graphing include that it's the only method that allows you to find both the vertex and the intercepts accurately. The more you practice, the easier it is. So if you've had a lot of experience factoring, it's the quickest method. Sometimes the equation can't be factored, though, and that's a major minus. It takes the longest amount of time to find the x-intercepts, too, without practice.
The next and final method is to solve quadratic functions is to use the quadratic formula itself. The quadratic formula is a formula to quickly and accurately determine the x-intercepts of a quadratic equation. The formula itself is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, and all of that over 2 times a. The formula to find the discriminant, which comes from the quadratic formula, is b squared minus 4ac.
But what would you use the discriminant for?
The discriminant can be used to determine how many solutions there are without actually solving the equation. If the discriminant is negative, there are no solutions. If the discriminant is 0, there's 1, and if the discriminant is a positive number, there are 2. Some of the pros to the quadratic formula are that you can find the number of solutions without finishing all the work, just like we described, using the discriminant. It's also the quickest way to find the x-intercepts. Some of the cons to the quadratic equation, though, include that you can't find the coordinates of the vertex. You have to convert it back to standard form to do that. It also has more room for human error since it's a very long equation.
Well, guys, that's it. I hope you enjoyed our ways to figure out quadratic functions. If you did, be sure to smash that like button and be sure to leave us some positive feedback in the comments below. And this whole thing was brought to you by Group 9. And remember, kids, whenever you're trying to solve that quadratic function, there are 3 major ways. You can either graph, you can factor, or you can use the quadratic formula itself. Well,
Remember the pros and cons of each method so you can determine which one to use when given a certain equation.
So, yeah, hopefully we'll see you next time. And remember, keep up with this, and maybe in a future video you'll learn how to complete the square.
Thanks for watching, and hopefully You can solve equations better knowing this new knowledge that Group 9 taught you.
Subscribe to my Let's Play channel.